Apocalyptic Crisis plus decisive killing+no female protagonist plus zombies+abilities plus 10,000 tribes. Jiang Chen awakened his plundering ability without realizing it, and after a tragic death, he unexpectedly reborn before the end of the day. This time he must change his fate and stand on top of millions of people. Apocalypse, a self-proclaimed game of gods. But if you add blood bars to the gods, they will also kill you. The Shadow King, the Earth Guardian, the Poison Doctor Queen, and the Nine Tailed Lingmao are all his team members. Dragon Blood God of War. Jiang Chen will never be able to defeat the enemy. Frozen Throne. If you have already hit someone else, you cannot hit me anymore. Overlord Reload. On the surface, humans have gradually regained control of civilization. However, one day when blood stained the sky, Jiang Chen flew with human powerhouses to confront them. What would be the outcome? Chapter 1. Rebirth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yamamoto, I miscalculated this question. What have you been thinking about lately? Teacher Huizi, no. Well, after school, in the teacher's office, I must solve the students' troubles and make you focus on studying. Okay. Jiang Chen's eyes, which were originally somewhat confused inside the rented house, suddenly filled with murderous intent, and he let out a fierce roar with a fierce expression on his face. Lu Ming, Huang Wei, Chen Tingting, you three adulterers and prostitutes must not die easily. After venting, Jiang Chen was attracted by the sound of his phone and immediately looked around in confusion. What's the situation? Slow down, don't worry. At this moment, he only felt a splitting headache, and it was only after 2.5 minutes that the irritating sound in his ear brought him back to his senses. As if thinking of something, he picked up his phone and looked at the date and time on it, unable to conceal the joy on his face. There's still half a day left, that's enough. After tidying up for a while and then using his phone for a while, he rushed out of the door and headed straight to the nearby underground supermarket. Money can make ghosts grind, and this statement is sometimes entirely true. He directly found the person in charge of the underground supermarket and immediately added their contact information, buying nearly 20,000 yuan. Although the person in charge was shocked, there was no reason to refuse the doorstep purchase, let alone Jiang Chen buying only simple things such as rice, noodles, canned foods, and some high-calorie foods. After confirming the relevant matters, he left and went to various pharmacies to stock up on some drugs, such as disinfectant, painkillers, bandages, antibiotics, etc. In addition, he went to some places and bought what he needed. After putting all these things back home, it was already noon. I didn't expect to be blessed by misfortune and have been reborn for a lifetime. I really want to thank you all. In the past life, a mysterious phenomenon of 2 moons on the same day appeared at midnight, and while most people were still asleep, the world underwent earth-shattering changes. The unprecedented monsters, zombies, mutated beasts, and mutated plants have made this world full of crises, and what is even more terrifying is the collapse of order. After that night, the magnetic field of the blue star changed, and even the movement trajectory and velocity of the blue star changed, causing the original mobile phones and satellites to lose their function. But fortunately, there is no way out, and the survivors have gradually awakened their abilities, known as superpowers. Without awakening their abilities, they have also become reinforcers. The superpower awakens special abilities such as water control, fire control, ice control, or invisibility. Although they are different, the difficulty of awakening is no less than 1 in a million. The enhancer is different. He does not need to awaken, what he strengthens is speed, strength, physical fitness, etc. He only needs to constantly hone to become stronger. However, whether it is a superpower or an enhancer who only relies on self-cultivation, the improvement of strength is undoubtedly slow. So how can one quickly improve their strength? After a period of exploration, someone finally discovered that there is a chance to find crystal nuclei in the brain of monsters or zombies after killing them. As long as it is absorbed, it can accelerate the improvement of one's own strength, and the effect of monster crystal nuclei varies at different levels. In their past life, after a major war of suppression, their team took on the task of clearing the army to earn crystal nuclei, mainly responsible for killing undead zombies and monsters on the battlefield. Just as he finished dealing with a monster, he felt a chill in his mind and a warm energy swam through his body. Originally, he only thought it was his own nervous illusion. After all, the one he was cleaning and repairing was just a 4th-level monster. He was also a 2nd-level enhancer at the time, and it was basically impossible for him to kill a 4th-level monster alone. As he continued to repair his sword to the 2nd 4th-level monster, he felt a burning sensation all over his body, as if breaking through decay and heading straight towards the heavenly spirit cap. He knew that he had experienced this feeling both as a 1st-order enhancer and as a breakthrough 2nd-order enhancer. What surprised him was that he quickly and inexplicably broke through to the 3rd-level enhancer. Just as he was pleasantly surprised, a sudden cry of surprise came from behind. I saw a 6th-level crawler who didn't die completely. It struggled to get up and ran towards his girlfriend Chen. By the time he realized it, the monster had already launched an attack on Chen, and Jiang Chen burst out at an unprecedented speed. Jiang Chen pushed Chen away, his eyes fiercely leapt up, and his long sword pierced through her ferocious head. However, when he thought he had succeeded, he only felt a sharp pain in his chest. Slightly bowing his head, he saw that the other person's tail had pierced his chest at some point, and then he collapsed weakly with the monster's death. Feeling the passing of life, Jiang Chen's eyes were filled with unwillingness. It was only then that he realized that the new world was not yet fully unleashed and was about to die. He looked down at the monster in front of him and suddenly froze. He was surprised that he could see the other party's data for no other reason. Name. Crawler, Death, Level. 6th level abilities. Invisibility, Poison Hunting Sting, Venom Spray, Indestructible, Deadly Strike, Eye of Insight. This startled Jiang Chen, as he could actually see the other party's data. Ting, are you okay? Ting. Two anxious voices reminded Jiang Chen of his girlfriend, thinking that he would die and be sad for saving her. But after he struggled to turn his head, what he saw was a scene that shocked him immensely. He saw his girlfriend lying in his brother's arms. His other good friend was groping around Chen Ting's body, her eyes full of concern. Brother Ming, Brother Wei, don't worry, Ting is fine. Chen Ting spoke in his coquettish voice, looking at the two with a slightly shy expression on her face as she survived the disaster. There's no such thing as a dead boyfriend, as if those two were her boyfriends. Lu Ming, Huang Wei, Chen Ting, what are you guys doing? As if the light had returned, Jiang Chen looked at the three with a fierce expression on his face. The three of them seemed to have just realized, and soon they hugged Chen Ting and walked towards Jiang Chen. I didn't expect you to come in handy, Ting. You're really amazing. Lu Ming looked at Jiang Chen with disgust on his face, and then happily glanced at Chen Ting kissing her left cheek. Oh my, Brother Ming hates it. What's Brother Wei looking at? Chapter 2. Betrayal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hahaha, we've all played poker together before. Does he still care about this? You're necrotic, Brother Wei. Look at him. Chen Ting blushed and pounded Lu Ming's chest a few times, before quickly falling into Huang Wei's arms. Huang Wei also laughed heartily and then casually kissed her right cheek. Let's ignore him, Brother Wei hurts you. You must die hard, you must die hard. Jiang Chen couldn't bear to watch anymore. He didn't expect that Chen Ting, who didn't even let him hold her hand, would be so shy and look like Ren Jun picking in their arms. Lu Ming walked 2 steps to Jiang Chen and looked at him with a fierce expression. He slapped him directly and threw him out. The tremendous force directly knocked out several of Jiang Chen's teeth, and also caused the wound to further tear his chest. Jiang Chen seemed unaware, even though his left face swelled up at a visible speed to the naked eye. You stinky bastard without parents. Close your mouth. If you're not in the same dormitory as us, you think you can be Tingting's boyfriend. Go down and have fun. By the way, remember on the day of the apocalypse when you were resting, and then you called Tingting to say you missed him, but she refused you. She told you she's running in the gym, right? Actually, she's making sandwiches with me and away. Xiao Lu knows, actually he also had sex with Tingting once, and from beginning to end, only you were kept in the dark. Oh, why are you telling him this? It's not that you're pursuing excitement, but who would appreciate such a person? Giving a lipstick of 700 or 800 yuan for holidays is not as good as half of what two brothers gave. Chen Tingting looked at Jiang Chen with disgust on her face, and Huang Wei also laughed out loud. I think Jiang Chen is also infatuated. He will eat mantou for half a month after buying gifts for you. But even if you post a photo of him on your social media, it's worth it, even though you've played him a mosaic, hahaha, but it's also unintentional to insert willows and willows into the shade. He not only saved Tingting but also brought us this 6th level crawler. With it, the three of us are likely to break through the 4th level soon. Jiang Chen weakly lowered his head amidst the ridicule and longing for a better future from the three of them. At this moment, he wished to kill all three of them, but his physical weakness left him helpless. He lowered his head and saw a bitter smile on his hand, but the next moment the message appeared in front of him. Name. Jiang Chen level. 3rd level abilities. Predation, time and space backtracking, eye of insight. Without much thought, Jiang Chen completely lost consciousness. It's ridiculous that he only knew everything when he was dying, but it was too late. After glancing at the time on his phone, a fierce expression flashed in his eyes, and he immediately dialed the most familiar phone number. It took a while for the phone to connect, and before speaking, heavy gasps came from across the street. Why, it's okay to hang up. I'm running and exercising in the gym. Jiang Chen listened quietly with no expression on his face, but his tone was extremely excited. I won 10 million yuan in the lottery, come on. The rapid breathing of the earphones suddenly stopped, and soon it was Chen Tingting's excited voice. Really? Jiang Chen, if you're lying to me, just wait for the breakup. Oh Tingting, when did I deceive you? By the way, are you at the gym of Huang Wei and Lu Ming's house? If so, let them come over too and say I want to thank them for inviting them to dinner. Okay, they happen to be there too. I'll find you wherever you are now. I'm here at your rental house. I came to find you and only called when you weren't around. Oh good, the key is under the flower bed. You go ahead and have a drink of water. We'll be there in a while, you're good. Across from him came Chen Tingting's charming and sweet voice. If he had been foolish enough to die for the other person before, now he was filled with disgust and killing intent. After tidying up, he picked up a black box and left. As soon as he reached the roadside, he immediately took a taxi. Previously, he dared not even take a taxi. If he could walk, he would never take a bus. If he could take a bus, he would never take a taxi. The location of Chen Tingting's rented house is much better and more luxurious than him, and he originally wanted to live together. On the one hand, it saves money, and on the other hand, it's also to be able to see each other every day. However, she said to her that she wants to have ambition and she also wants to save everything until her wedding night. That was Jiang Chen, whose eyes were full of Chen Tingting, who only felt that the other person was pure and that he had found someone worth giving. Unfortunately, all of this was a scam in itself. Jiang Chen paid 100 yuan directly to ask the other party not to look for it. He came here once before to help Chen Tingting move here, but he hasn't come since. Sure enough, he found the set of keys under the flower bed, opened the door, and entered. As soon as you enter, there is a faint aroma, and overall it is very warm. Jiang Chen just stood quietly on the balcony watching, and then he pulled the curtains. After pouring 4 glasses of water, he added some powder to the other 3 times the water, stirred well, and took a sip of water before waiting quietly. In less than 10 minutes, 3 urgent sounds of going upstairs rang out, and the next moment, accompanied by the sound of keys turning, 3 impatient figures walked in. The 3 people he couldn't forget were Lu Ming, Huang Wei, and Chen Tingting. Jiang Chen changed into a smiling face and said, "Why are you in such a hurry? Drink some water quickly." He quickly stood up and picked up the water from the cups for the 3 of them. Chen Tingting's floor was on the 4th floor, and with the 3 of them eager, they probably wouldn't wait for the elevator. Sure enough, the 3 of them were panting heavily and drinking water without hesitation. The 3 people who had gasped for breath all looked at Jiang Chen with burning eyes, but in the end, Chen Tingting couldn't help but speak first. "Jiang Chen, are you telling the truth? What about the lottery?" She immediately reached out to Jiang Chen, as it was only natural for her, to ask for the lottery ticket, with a look of joy and arrogance on her face. Huang Wei and Lu Ming also looked at Jiang Chen excitedly, but Jiang Chen shook his head. At this moment, the 3 of them were unhappy, and Chen Tingting looked at Jiang Chen with an angry expression on her face. "You won't lie to me, will you? If it's true, you're done." "That's right," Tingting was so anxious that she fell to her buttocks. "If you were really joking and being a brother, you wouldn't let go of her. Jiang Chen, it's not kind of you to do this." Watching the 3 of Yi Zheng's words perform like clowns, Jiang Chen almost couldn't help but want to laugh, but in order to stabilize the 3 of them, he still explained. Jiang Chen explained that his boss wanted to buy his lottery tickets and was willing to give him an extra 1 million yuan. He even gave him a deposit of 100,000 yuan in advance. As soon as he has the funds ready in the next 2 days, he will pay immediately. In order to increase persuasiveness, he transferred 20,000 yuan each. Even if he thinks about things again, it's not the right time. After all, with his slightly malnourished physique now, how can he compare to the 3 people who exercise regularly? He's waiting for the medicine to attack. How could I possibly deceive you? You are my girlfriend and good brothers. Watching the transfer on their mobile phones, the 3 of them undoubtedly had him, and they hugged each other happily. It seemed that the 3 of them quickly separated at the thought of Jiang Chen's presence, and Chen Tingting directly threw herself into his arms. Chapter 3. Double month same day. You are listening at novel full.audio. Chen Tingting said in a coquettish voice, "Baby, let's transfer the money to my card. You know I'm studying finance. With this money and my management, we won't have to work anymore in the future, so we can be happy together." Okay, Jiang Chen naturally nodded in agreement with this, and when Lu Ming and Huang Wei saw it, they also walked up and patted Jiang Chen's shoulder, saying congratulations, but their eyes were full of greed. Let's go, let's go. Didn't Jiang Chen say he invited us to have a good meal? What are you waiting for? Let's go quickly." Lu Ming stopped Jiang Chen's neck and was about to walk out, but Jiang Chen did not move. "Don't worry, the boss even gave me a good item. I can show it to you when you come." Okay. Anyway, it's not too late. Take it out quickly, dear." Listening to Jiang Chen's words, all 3 of them smiled, and Chen Tingting's smile was even sweeter and more greasy, something Jiang Chen had never seen before. "You guys sit and wait, I just left my room, I'll go get it." Speaking, Jiang Chen walked into the room, glanced at the black box on the table, and then looked at the time on his phone without saying anything. After a few more minutes, the 3 people outside seemed to be impatient and said, "Darling, have you found it? Do you want me to help you?" "No need, I'll come out as soon as I find it. You'll definitely be surprised. I'm just looking forward to it." Another minute passed before Jiang Chen walked out of the crowd's eager eyes, their gaze fixed on the box in his hand. He completely ignored Jiang Chen's cold gaze and said, "What is this? Is it for me?" Jiang Chen glanced at the 3 and nodded, "This is for you 3. In the anticipation of the three of them, Jiang Chen opened the blackboard and saw what was inside. The three of them immediately stood up from the ground. Jiang Chen, what do you mean? As soon as they got up, they felt dizzy and weak in their limbs. There are 3 daggers inside the box, don't grab them, everyone has a share. At this moment, the 3 finally realized something was wrong, and upon seeing it, they realized that the curtains had been pulled up at some point. Just now their attention was all on Jiang Chen and the lottery, who still cares about this. Jiang Chen, what are you doing? If you do this again, I'll be angry. Chen Tingting clearly hasn't realized the seriousness of the situation yet. In her opinion, whenever she gets angry, Jiang Chen will come over and obedient like a dog. Jiang Chen just picked up a dagger and looked at the other person coldly. Chen Tingting had never seen such a look before, let alone expected such a look to appear in the other person's eyes. Jiang Chen walked up to Chen Tingting and directly opened her mouth, cutting off her tongue. Finally quiet. Chen Tingting opened her mouth full of blood but couldn't make a sound. Seeing this scene, Huang Hao and Lu Ming's faces turned pale, and their eyes were filled with fear. Jiang Chen, you are breaking the law. Hurry up and send us to the hospital to seek leniency. Breaking the law, lenient treatment. Upon hearing such childish words, Jiang Chen burst into laughter and broke the law. Tomorrow the end of the world will come, and the order will collapse. Who can maintain the law, and who can bring him to justice? At this moment, he was laughing so wildly and so comfortably, with a cold light flashing and a dagger piercing directly into Huang Hao's thigh. Just as Huang Hao was about to scream, Jiang Chen directly covered the other person's mouth. Then he held the second dagger and stabbed it one by one, but the knife avoided the key point. Although he was bleeding profusely, he couldn't die in a short period of time. Soon, the sofa under his seat was soaked in blood. Jiang Chen and Jiang Gu, if you let me go, I won't say anything outside. I swear. At this moment, Lu Ming deeply regrets why he came here for greed. Jiang Chen remained calm and stabbed his chest with the third knife, then pulled out the first and second from Huang Wei. With the sound of the knife piercing into flesh and blood, Lu Ming had 3 more knives on his body. From the chest to the stomach and then to the crotch, 3 points connect in a straight line. Do you know why? But apart from the whimpering sound, none of the 3 of them answered his question, and soon they sat down on the sofa in front of Chen Tingting. Well, why don't you go down and ask the Prince Yen? After speaking, he stopped talking and watched the 3 of them with a smile on his face. After about half an hour, the blood in Chen Tingting's mouth seemed to have stopped. Jiang Chen stood up and directly pulled out the dagger from Lu Ming's body, causing blood to gush in. He ignored Lu Ming and looked at Chen Tingting, shaking his head in terror. However, Jiang Chen seemed to have not seen it and stabbed 3 daggers into his body. Stay away from me in the next life. Jiang Chen said a cold word before leaving. Before leaving, he turned back and glanced at Chen Tingting, who was resentful. He showed a brilliant smile and immediately closed the door heavily. When he took a taxi back home again, it was already late at night. Sitting on the sofa, Jiang Chen looked at the moon in the sky and carefully recalled all the previous things. In the end, he confirmed 3 things. Firstly, he is a superpower. Secondly, his abilities may be abilities that can plunder and kill creatures or anything else. Thirdly, his rebirth may be related to the second ability he acquired at an unknown time. These 3 points are all traceable, so the first point naturally goes without further explanation. As for the second point, he could actually see it through his probing eyes, but he felt that his plundering ability was not so simple. After all, I don't know what kind of luck it was in my past life. Zombies and monsters killed a lot of crystal nuclei but didn't gain much, but the speed of improvement was not slower or even faster than others relying on crystal nuclei to improve. The third point is Jiang Chen's guess. After all, he can't go to the experiment again, he can only guess through the literal meaning. After organizing his thoughts, he took out a long box from the nearby table and opened it with a slightly excited expression. Inside lay a Tang Hengdao and 8 daggers, which he had spent a lot of money buying and secretly searching for someone to open. The Tang Hengdao has a total length of 105 centimeters, a blade length of 73 centimeters, a blade width of 3 centimeters, a blade thickness of 1 centimeter, and a handle length of 26 centimeters. Jiang Chen glanced at the blade shining with cold light and nodded in satisfaction, then he glanced at the dagger in his hand again. The material is the same as Tang Hengdao, but the length was requested to be extended by him, with a total length of 35 centimeters. Having both strengths and weaknesses in attack and defense, these 2 pounds of treasure, combined with the high imitation combat suit he bought, are enough for him to develop in the early stages. Jiang Chen quickly waved and wanted to get familiar with it as soon as possible. Time passed unnoticed, and Jiang Chen didn't stop until his phone alarm rang. At 23:40, Jiang Chen finally took a shower, put on his combat uniform, grabbed his weapons, and sat on the sofa in the living room, waiting. In just a few months, the bright moonlight in the living room revealed a hint of crimson. Jiang Chen quietly opened his eyes and immediately lost consciousness. Chapter 4. Metal Control. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It wasn't until the alarm clock on his phone kept ringing that Jiang Chen became aware, and he slowly opened his eyes. This is the alarm clock he deliberately set, otherwise based on past life experience, he would probably sleep until after midnight the next day. After sobering up for a while, Jiang Chen decisively went out. What he had to do today not only verified his conjecture but also allowed him to take a step forward in this damn apocalypse. The community where Jiang Chen is located is an old one, although the environment is not very good, fortunately it is cheap. For a senior intern like Jiang Chen, it's already very good. Who made him an orphan? Everything depends on himself. The things he previously purchased were all borrowed or borrowed by someone he relied on, otherwise how could his salary barely sustain himself? A few steps outside, he arrived at the opposite door. A magnetic card appeared in his hand and he drew up and down in the crack of the door. In less than a minute, the door opened. This is a skill he learned in the apocalypse, and I won't go into detail here. After entering the door, he saw 2 elderly people lying on the ground, but at this moment their bodies had changed. The skin gradually turns white, and the nails also begin to grow slowly. A fierce expression flashed in Jiang Chen's eyes, and for some unknown reason, 90% of people in the apocalypse would turn into walking dead monsters. Who, after slowly exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, he tied the 2 together with a good nylon rope. Immediately, Jiang Chen ran upstairs again. His building had a total of 12 floors, and he was on the 8th floor. He must control everyone while everyone is still awake. Roar. Accompanied by emotionless roars, followed by screams of shock and then screams of agony. The screams and screams were particularly piercing on this quiet night, indicating that the end of the world had officially begun. After Jiang Chen took control of all the people in their building, he completely blocked the entrance to the 1st floor. After the blockage, he rested quietly and waited. He didn't get up until a ray of sunlight shone into the hallway. After moving his body, he drew out his long knife and walked into the door on the 2nd floor. Roar. A bloodthirsty roar rang out, and Jiang Chen lifted his eyes to look at the struggling figure. His hair is sparse, and his skin is grayish-white. His eyes are crimson, revealing a bloodthirsty glow and a desire for flesh and blood. At the moment he saw Jiang Chen, he immediately opened his mouth to him from afar, as if he could no longer wait. But fortunately, he was tightly bound and could only wriggle continuously, with a disgusting liquid hanging from the corner of his mouth, emitting a foul odor. Jiang Chen walked slowly to the zombie and immediately lifted his knife without hesitation, piercing the other person's head. Accompanied by a shiver, the zombie seemed to have been pulled away from its bones and collapsed on the ground, while Jiang Chen subtly noticed a slight improvement in all aspects of his body. He is no longer the same as before, and his control over his body has become meticulous. He clearly felt that his strength had been enhanced, and after a simple activity, he didn't know if it was due to psychological effects. He felt that his body had also become much lighter. After getting familiar with it for a while, Jiang Chen directly drew a dagger and broke open the zombie's head, but unfortunately there was no crystal nucleus inside. But he didn't lose heart. After all, there were so many zombies waiting for him upstairs. After organizing his thoughts, Jiang Chen raised his sword and continued to fight until the 6th floor before stopping. Looking at the crystal nucleus in his hand, he showed a bitter smile, and out of 13 zombies, 1 came out. He had no luck either. Looking at the prismatic crystal nucleus in his hand, Jiang Chen didn't hesitate at all. After a simple wipe, he swallowed it directly. There was no feeling of grinding teeth, and the hard crystal nucleus melted at the entrance. Then Jiang Chen felt his whole body start to heat up. Jiang Chen knew that this was the power in the crystal nucleus, and in order not to waste it, he could only keep moving to accelerate the consumption of energy. It took Jiang Chen an unknown amount of time before he collapsed to the ground, sweating profusely. Although tired, he clearly felt an increase in strength. After resting for a while, he regained some strength and just stood up, ready to continue upward. At this moment, the scene outside the window caught his attention, and he saw zombies already wandering below. But at this moment, a middle-aged man suddenly rushed out of the door, thinking of running into the car and driving away. Jiang Chen shook his head and walked up. Even if it was an ordinary zombie, their speed was not comparable to that of ordinary people. 11 seconds per 100 meters is not just for fun. If you become a first-order zombie, your speed will be 1 level higher. Arriving at the 7th floor, there was no hissing sound. Pushing the door open, I saw a young woman and a man with a big belly. The two were naked and bound to the bed, while the woman had not yet woken up. The man had woken up first, and when he saw Jiang Chen come in, the man's face showed a look of fear. However, due to things being stuffed into his mouth and a circle of tape wrapped around it, he could only make a whimper. Jiang Chen watched as the man fell into a state of pursuit. This bloated man's name is Zhu Ming. In his past life, he became an unparalleled superpower, and his superpower was a rare metal control. With this ability, he became the strongest in this building. Later, the other party gradually became the king of the community, and any woman with a bit of beauty did not escape the clutches of the other party. As for survivors like Jiang Chen, they became slaves to the other party. He had to face various dangers while not being full or warm, and even had to hand over the food he had obtained to the other party. In the end, he found an opportunity to escape during an outing. Looking at the frightened man in front of him, and then thinking about the ruthless exploitation in his past life, he showed a smile, but this smile was so terrifying in Zhu Ming's eyes. Jiang Chen reached out to tear off the tape on Zhu Ming's head and took off what was in his mouth. He looked at him with a smile and said, "Do you still remember me?" At this moment, Zhu Ming watched as Jiang Chen's pupils, still dripping with black blood, shrank. However, he still forced himself to calm down. "I don't know how to call you, little brother. Zhu Ming's reaction changed, and Jiang Chen couldn't help but nod inwardly. With such a strange nature, it must be said that the other party was a character. Jiang Chen. So it's the Jiang brothers, I've heard a lot about them. Hee hee. Jiang Chen sneered twice and his eyes were full of ridicule. He was an old fogey who mixed up with the society. If he didn't have this cheek, he would not continue to mix. Regarding Jiang Chen's attitude, Zhu Ming continued to ask with a smile as if he had not seen it, as if it was not him who had been kidnapped. "I don't know who Jiang brothers asked you to take action on me. If you let me go, I can offer you 3 times, no, 10 times the price. How about that?" Chapter 5. First Plunder. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiang Chen's smile became even brighter, and Zhu Ming breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this. The other person's smile calmed him down a bit. Obviously, he didn't realize the seriousness of the situation yet, just thinking that his opponent had sent someone to mess with him. But fortunately, this person is quite greedy. As long as he can leave alive, he will definitely let Jiang Chen live better than die. A fierce look flashed in Zhu Ming's eyes. He quickly hid it, but it still didn't escape Jiang Chen's eyes. Suddenly, Zhu Ming saw that Jiang Chen had actually used a knife, which made him panic, and he quickly shouted loudly. Brother Jiang, no, no, I can not only give you money but also give you women. As long as I have anything, I can give it to you. Before he could finish speaking, Jiang Chen's sword fell down, but it was not to kill Zhu Ming but to chop towards the woman next to him. When Zhu Ming regained his senses and looked, he saw that the woman who was originally somewhat attractive had become extremely ugly. Even though her head was split in the middle by a knife, she still had her mouth wide open and wanted to bite him. Watching this scene made Zhu Ming tremble with fear. He quickly leaned back and moved his body away from her. Jiang Chen had been keeping an eye on the changes in women, and when they completely turned into zombies, he immediately took action. Ignoring the panic, Zhu Ming searched directly in the zombie's mind, but in Zhu Ming's eyes, the scene was terrifying. Although he didn't know what the situation was with his lover, he had never seen someone who would stir up people's brains even after killing someone. At this moment, Jiang Chen seemed to have turned into a demon in Zhu Ming's eyes. Seeing Jiang Chen, who was focused, and the open door, Zhu Ming realized the opportunity. Under broad daylight, the other party would definitely not dare to compete, so he cautiously moved towards the door. If you don't want to be like her, just be honest. A cold sound echoed in Zhu Ming's ear, startling him to immediately hesitate to move, afraid that a single blow to his head would result in such a blow. At this moment, Jiang Chen stood up happily because he had taken a crystal nucleus from his hand. Before he could escape from his previous life, he heard that Zhu Ming had killed his lover who had turned into a zombie. He found crystal core from it and swallowed it, which gave him that strength. He turned around and walked towards Zhu Ming, who was so scared that his face turned white and he forced out a smile that was even uglier than crying. Big brother, I just feel numb on my body and moved to relieve it. Jiang Chen ignored him and handed a small iron nail to Zhu Ming, take it away. Big brother, I'm tied up here, how can I get it? Ignoring Zhu Ming's explanation, Jiang Chen directly inserted a 2-centimeter-long iron nail into Zhu Ming's shoulder. The sudden pain made Zhu Ming scream, but when he saw Jiang Chen's cold gaze, he decisively closed his mouth. Use your mind, take it away. Okay. Zhu Ming looked at the bloody nail and responded, but in his heart he had already angrily cursed Jiang Chen as abnormal or crazy. Whether it was because the nail remained motionless for a while or because he felt Zhu Ming's handling, Jiang Chen directly inserted the nail into the other shoulder of the opponent. This time Zhu Ming just snorted, while Jiang Chen pulled out the nail again and put it in his hand. Try to concentrate and imagine taking the nail away, otherwise you'll die. Zhu Ming is like a chicken pecking at rice. At this moment, he is really afraid. Whether it is possible or not, he must give it a try. In fact, Jiang Chen did it intentionally, in order to stimulate Zhu Ming's attention and make it easier for him to succeed between life and death. After a while, just as Jiang Chen thought the other party had failed, he suddenly saw the nail in his hand slowly floating up. Immediately, the nail suddenly stabbed towards Jiang Chen's eyebrows, but how could he fall for this trick? As soon as he lifted the dagger in his hand, he knocked the flying nail out, and Zhu Ming saw this in secret. Big brother, I misunderstood. I was careless just now. Lian, but how could Jiang Chen give the other party another chance? He threw his dagger directly at his chest and stabbed it. Then pay attention in your next life. Looking at the dagger flying at lightning speed, Zhu Ming's pupils trembled and he said, No, you can't. Immediately, a strange energy burst out of his body, and the dagger gradually slowed down and finally came to a stop against his skin. Haha, if you can't kill me, I'm just. Without giving Zhu Ming a chance to be arrogant, a cold light flashed through him and he felt like the sky was spinning and the earth was spinning, even if he lost consciousness. Jiang Chen's long sword threw the blood off the blade, and at the same time, his head felt a sense of coolness. This familiar feeling was like killing the crawler in a previous life, and then he reached out and moved his mind. I saw the dagger that had already fallen to the ground flying towards him, and Jiang Chen tightly grasped it, feeling an unprecedented satisfaction. With such abilities and the ability to plunder, as long as he doesn't fall into the future, he will definitely have a place. After playing for a while, he suddenly felt a little dizzy, so he quickly sat by the bed to rest. After a while of rest, he didn't feel much dizzy, and when he thought of the reason, he showed a self-deprecating smile. Power is not unlimited, but most powers rely on spiritual power. The stronger the spiritual power, the stronger the power and endurance of the power. Thinking about it, he took out the crystal nucleus he had just obtained and directly pulled the energy from his body to his head. The enhancer injects energy throughout the body or hits the arms or legs, while most psychics focus on the brain. As the energy was gradually absorbed, Jiang Chen felt that his clear mind had a more perfect grasp of the body. Jiang Chen exhaled a deep breath and looked at his dagger again. This time, the feeling was noticeably much easier than before, and soon his mind moved. The dagger in his hand floated in the void and then spun at high speed, getting faster and faster. Suddenly, Jiang Chen threw the dagger and it flew out in an instant. With a bump sound, 1/3 of the high-speed rotating dagger actually sank into the wall. Jiang Chen returned from afar with a dagger in his hand, and a hint of joy appeared in his eyes as he looked at the marks on the wall. With such power, ordinary people are definitely not their opponents, and they can still be used as a trump card in critical moments. But soon he realized that there was a stuttering on the dagger, and a magical scene happened next. I saw the dagger blade gradually changing, and those stuttering mouths were slowly recovering. In no time, a flawless dagger suddenly appeared in Jiang Chen's hand. Yes, Jiang Chen was so happy that he was about to jump up, but soon he calmed down. After tidying up, he continued upstairs with his knife, and there were a total of 13 zombies on the remaining floors. Perhaps due to their age, only Jiang Chen and Zhu Ming did not turn into zombies in this building. After confirming once again that there were no omissions, Jiang Chen returned to his house with satisfaction, looking at the food in the room and feeling the power of his body, and his heart calmed down. Chapter 6. Mysterious Youth. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Jiang Chen glanced at it as it was already past 10 o'clock, and after a brief tidying up, he had a delicious meal. Perhaps due to awakening his powers, Jiang Chen didn't sleep much last night and still hasn't had much drowsiness. However, in order to be energetic, he still took a nap and didn't wake up until after 1 p.m. Looking at everything around him, he finally realized that it was not a dream. After waking up, he went to the window and pulled up a corner of the curtain to look out. At first glance, it was a mess, and the ground was littered with zombies wandering aimlessly, along with some limbs and broken arms. But such a numbing scene was so ordinary in Jiang Chen's eyes, and there was no ripple in his eyes. After looking for a while, he put down the curtains and immediately went to the living room to start practicing various strange postures. This was invented and announced by the military in the Apocalypse, which can better exercise the body. After finishing a set, Jiang Chen's body warmed up, and by the 4th time, he was already sweating profusely. This set of movements consists of 12 positions, and when he can complete it 10 times without rest, it means he is a first-order enhancer. He is already very satisfied with the current progress, although it becomes more difficult later on. He believes that within half a month, he will definitely become a first-order powerhouse. After exercising his body, he began to experiment with supernatural powers, as the power of a person with supernatural powers from a past life was deeply ingrained in people's hearts. He closed his eyes and calmed down to feel it carefully. In the darkness, he felt many small dots of light. With the amplification of photoelectric technology, they each have their own shapes, and some Jiang Chen can see them at a glance. For example, the kitchen knife, spoon, door, and some furniture components are all presented in Jiang Chen's mind. He couldn't feel it about 5 meters away, and then he conducted various experiments. In the end, he determined some data, such as the fact that he can now lift something over 10 pounds for about 3 minutes. The control distance cannot exceed 5 meters, and the force can only bend the kitchen knife back and forth. As for changing the shape, it can only be made rough. Although it may not be satisfactory, it is already very good for now, and the power will naturally be different when the strength improves in the future. After the experiment, Jiang Chen began to hone his body again. He knew that any negligence in this post-apocalyptic world could potentially kill you in the future. After an unknown amount of time, the sky darkened and it wasn't until 9 p.m. that he dragged his tired body to sleep after washing. Ding-ling-ling, ding-ling-ling. Jiang Chen had already opened his eyes before the alarm clock rang, and only turned it off when it did before he got up. After checking the weapons in his combat uniform and confirming their accuracy, Jiang Chen went out and went straight to the rooftop of the community. Today his goal is to build another unit building side by side with his residential area, which is not far apart and only looks like 3 or 4 meters. Jiang Chen took a few steps back and then effortlessly jumped over with a run-up. The entire movement flowed smoothly without any surprise or sound. He walked to the top door and reached out to control the lock cylinder inside the door lock, accompanied by a clicking sound as the door opened. Jiang Chen cautiously removed the door lock and walked in with Tang Hingdao in his hand. Just as he entered, a pungent stench filled his nose. Following that was a middle-aged man who had lost his breath. He thought he wanted to hide on the rooftop, but unfortunately, he was chased by a zombie. Puzzy. The long knife directly pierces into the opponent's brain, which not only prevents them from suddenly getting up, but also checks for the presence of crystal nuclei in their brain. Unfortunately, the other person didn't have what he wanted in his mind. Jiang Chen shook his head and prepared to explore from the 12th layer. The 2 entrances on the 12th floor were both open, and Jiang Chen frowned as he looked inside. Although there were no zombies in the 2 rooms, there were obvious signs of rebellion, and the kitchens and refrigerators in both rooms were swept clean. Interestingly, has anyone dared to kill zombies? As far as the 9th floor, Jiang Chen didn't see a zombie, not even a corpse, and the food and some supplies inside were also gone. A hint of surprise flashed in Jiang Chen's eyes when he saw this. It should be noted that he had lived in this community for 3 months in his past life and had never heard of such a person. With doubts in mind, he arrived at the 8th floor where he finally saw a zombie, although it was just a corpse. Is one blow fatal? Interesting. Watching the zombie's head sink in half, it was obvious that it was caused by a deadly blow from behind, similar to a baseball bat. Without exception, Jiang Chen broke open the other person's head, but this time it was different. A crystal nucleus lay quietly in the zombie's brain. Jiang Chen wiped it without any disdain and put it into the small bag on his combat suit. This one alone meant that his trip was not in vain. After exploring, he arrived at the 7th floor, where he noticed something different. The staircase between the 6th and 7th floors was blocked, making it almost impossible for those zombies to enter. But it's also difficult for the people inside to get out, unless they walk from the rooftop. Dismantling those things will definitely attract the attention of the zombies. Just as Jiang Chen was still pondering, he heard a faint sound and quickly walked up. He didn't expose himself but chose to observe. Through the gap in the stairwell, he saw a sturdy young man walking out of the house with a golf club in his hand. In Jiang Chen's slightly shocked gaze, he saw the young man repeatedly tapping on the iron railing of the staircase with his golf club. Roar, roar, roar. In no time, accompanied by several roars, several zombies rushed towards him in search of the sound. Unfortunately, due to the presence of obstacles, even these zombies have no choice but to yearn and go crazy. Looking at these zombie youths, their eyes froze and they immediately swung their golf club fiercely towards the zombie's head. Bang bang bang. With 3 muffled groans accompanied by the sound of bones shattering, these 3 zombies collapsed. Jiang Chen also secretly called himself a genius upon seeing this, and judging from the severity of his actions, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Looking at the other person's profile, he always had a familiar feeling that he couldn't remember. In his contemplation, the young man actually began to strike again. However, this time it took half a day to knock and only 2 zombies arrived. After dealing with these 2, the young man returned to the room. Jiang Chen also vaguely guessed as he watched the other party's actions. The other party was cleaning up the zombies, and there must be a reason to go out in such a hurry. Looking at the pile of zombies piled up in the stairwell, Jiang Chen knew he had to go out and meet this mysterious young man. Chapter 7. Gambling Contract. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just as Jiang Chen was pondering, he heard the sound of stir-frying and glanced at the time on his watch, realizing that it was already 11 o'clock. Just right, you can still grab a meal. Thinking about it, Jiang Chen walked directly down the stairs and took a few steps to reach the young man's doorstep. The young man looked towards the door as if he had noticed something, and only then did he feel a breath when his eyes met Jiang Chen. Soldiers. Jiang Chen has seen all kinds of people in his past life, and the aura on the youth is definitely the iron-blooded aura of a soldier, but it carries a hint of evil energy. He concluded that the other party had killed someone, and there was definitely more than one. The young man nodded calmly and shook his head. Did you come from the rooftop? Although Jiang Chen had some doubts, he did not inquire further. As for his whereabouts, he felt there was nothing to hide, so he truthfully told the other party. Well, it's the one next door. Who are you and what do you do? Senior students, come and find something to eat. Jiang Chen spoke half truthfully and half falsely, but he couldn't say that he was specifically here to kill zombies. Hee. The young man looked at Jiang Chen, who was fully armed, but smiled without saying a word. He glanced at the other person and then turned around to continue cooking. After a while, 3 dishes and 1 soup were placed on the table, and the other even brought 2 sets of bowls and chopsticks. Thank you very much. Jiang Chen only started eating after seeing the other party move his chopsticks. Although there was no intersection, it was so natural at this moment. Both of them ate quickly, and soon they finished eating. The young man stood up as if he hadn't seen Jiang Chen and began to tidy up the dishes. After washing them, he put them back in their original place completely naked. What's your name? The other person didn't speak, and Jiang Chen shrugged. In fact, when he saw the other person's face, he already had a guess. It's just that speculation was so unbelievable that he had to hear the other person's name to be certain. Summer and Autumn. In an instant, Jiang Chen felt blocked by icy gazes, and then a chopstick shot at him like a flying arrow. Jiang Chen sneered and lifted his knife to block all of these, but at this moment, Xia Qiu leapt over the table and punched him. If Jiang Chen had never been able to resist this before, he was completely fearless after being upgraded by 2 crystal nuclei. With the same punch, their fists collided fiercely. For a moment, both of them showed signs of shock, but soon they realized that they had each taken a step back. Who the hell are you? Xia Qiu used the strength of his retreat to widen the distance and also obtained the baseball bat. His gaze was fixed on Jiang Chen with a serious gaze, as if he wanted to see through it. The most surprising thing is still Jiang Chen, who just used 7 points of his strength to avoid hurting the other party. I thought I would have the upper hand, but I didn't expect to split the spoils equally. But when I thought about the other person's identity, he felt relieved. After hearing the other person's question, he smiled and said, Senior student, Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen. Xia Qiu murmured and furrowed his brows, thinking for a while but never heard of this name. However, with the opponent's strength, there is no need to deceive him. He withdrew his combat status and looked at Jiang Chen. I don't welcome you here, I hope you can leave. Faced with such behavior of rushing people, Jiang Chen didn't care at all, but withdrew his knife and walked back to the dining table to sit down. How about we make a bet? Xia Qiu just looked at each other quietly, while Jiang Chen responded with bright eyes. The two of them watched like this, but in the end, Xia Qiu frowned and shook her head. Not interested. When are you going to save your sister? With these words, Xia Qiu's originally calm expression immediately darkened. This time, he clenched his golf club and looked coldly at Jiang Chen. Who are you? Why do you know my name and my sister's existence? There was a tone of action when there was a disagreement in his words, but Jiang Chen still wore a smile on his face. You should know my strength. If I could help you, how much do you think you are confident in saving your sister? Xia Qiu stared at Jiang Chen's eyes as if trying to test the authenticity of his words, and it took him a long time to put down his weapon. Condition. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chen's eyebrows lit up with joy, and his face flushed with excitement. I want you. Xia Qiu's eyes flashed with a hint of disgust and killing intent. I don't play with that. The sudden answer stunned Jiang Chen, and he looked at Xia Qiu in surprise. He didn't expect that these words would come out of the other person's mouth, but upon closer reflection, what he just said was a bit narrow. I didn't mean that, what I meant was that I wanted you to follow me from now on. After speaking, he looked at Xia Qiu with bright eyes, hoping for his answer. Unexpectedly, the other party shook their head and said, You don't have the qualifications yet. Upon hearing this, Jiang Chen was not displeased at all. The person in front of him was not an ordinary person. Although the other party does not yet have the strength of the future, their pride is still present. How about this? Let's make a bet. Seeing Xia Qiu about to refuse Jiang Chen, he said again, Don't rush to refuse yet. It's not too late to hear about this gambling agreement. Xia Qiu pondered for a moment before nodding. After all, it was nothing to listen to. Let's have a fight. If you win against me, I'll go with you to save your sister. If you lose. If I lose, I'll follow you. Before Jiang Chen could finish speaking, Xia Qiu spoke up. Jiang Chen was not surprised, only truly powerful people would have such confidence in their own strength. Okay, even if I win, I will follow you to save your sister. It's a deal. It's a deal. Let's go up to the rooftop. After Jiang Chen finished speaking, he walked towards the door on his own, and Xia Qiu nodded and followed closely behind. On the way upstairs, Jiang Chen could no longer suppress his inner joy, and the corners of his mouth were almost on the tip of his ear. Xia Qiu, the captain of the Shadow Squad in his past life, was a superpower. It is said that anyone who had seen this superpower had died. And his sister Xia Yusen is also a superpower, and it is a rare healing-type superpower. In the future, there will be more and more people using small teams as their survival mode, and Shadow Team is one of the top 10 survivors besides the military team. It is rumored that their team has the fewest number of members among the top teams, but their strength is all top-notch. Anyone can be selected to deal with 5th-level zombies or monsters alone, and its captain Xia Qiu not only has strong strength but also attaches great importance to promises. He once heard a rumor about the other party that the leader of a survivor base had an old relationship with Xia Qiu, and Xia Qiu owed him a favor. In a wave of corpses, the opponent's base almost fell, but due to the timely appearance of the Shadow Team and their desperate resistance, it was only then that the survivor base remained. Chapter 8. Battle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although it was difficult to distinguish between true and false under Jiang Chen's identity at that time, there was no illusory power beneath his fame. Moreover, after a brief interaction, Jiang Chen can also sense some of the other person's personality, and those who are still thinking about their family in the apocalypse can be far inferior. Quickly, the two of them arrived at the rooftop and looked at Jiang Chen's golf club in Xia Qiu's hand, raising his eyebrows. Naked-fisted combat. Xia Qiu was somewhat surprised by Jiang Chen's suggestion, but he shook his head. Just use a knife. Xia Qiu believed that although Jiang Chen's strength was similar to his, he could never match himself in terms of combat skills and experience. Jiang Chen shrugged his shoulders and prepared for battle, just like Xia Qiu. The two did not immediately attack but observed each other, and the battle between experts often depends on a small detail. Xia Qiu held his golf club, like a fierce tiger descending the mountain, and a powerful aura emanated from him. He hooked his fingers at Jiang Chen, full of provocation. Jiang Chen, however, did not flinch at all. He held the Tang River knife and met it with a firm gaze. The showdown between experts is often decided in an instant, and neither of them takes any reckless action, but rather seeks the other's weaknesses. Xia Qiu may seem arrogant, but every swing carries precise calculations and immense power. Jiang Chen appeared calm, but his eyes revealed a desire for victory and excitement for challenges. Finally, Xia Qiu decided to launch the attack first. He swung his golf club, carrying a strong wind that instantly broke through the air. Jiang Chen immediately reacted and charged forward with his knife. The two weapons collided in the air, emitting a crisp metallic sound. Summer and autumn's attacks surged like a tide, each move carrying strength and speed. Jiang Chen used Tang Hengdao as the fulcrum and cleverly resolved the attack of Xia and Autumn. Their movements are fast and smooth, as if they are performing a carefully choreographed dance. However, Xia Qiu's strength cannot be underestimated. He utilizes the length and flexibility of his golf club to constantly launch attacks from various angles. Jiang Chen had to be fully focused on dealing with it, not daring to relax at all. Gradually, Jiang Chen began to adapt to the attack rhythm of summer and autumn, and he keenly caught a flaw. He slashed toward Xia Qiu with a thunderous force. Xia Qiu was startled by the unusual strike, but there was no time to dodge it. He could only carry the knife with force and block it with his golf club. The sound of metal collision echoed in the air, and the figures of the two intertwined. Jiang Chen's Tang Hengdao seemed to break through Xia Qiu's defense, and Xia Qiu's golf club tried its best to resist this blow. Finally, Jiang Chen's power gained the upper hand, and his Tang Hengdao knocked Xia Qiu's golf club away, slashing her shoulder with a single blow. Xia Qiu was shaken back a few steps by this knife, feeling a slight numbness in his left shoulder. He looked at Jiang Chen with a hint of shock in his eyes. It was this stunned moment of effort that the cold blade had landed on Xia Qiu's neck. How about it? Xia Qiu closed his eyes directly for Jiang Chen's question, and it took him a long time to sigh. Opening his eyes, he looked at Jiang Chen with complexity and said, "You won, boss." "Ha ha ha, Lao Xia, please accept me." Jiang Chen directly put away the Tang sword and grabbed Xia Qiu, but although Jiang Chen was already 180, he couldn't withstand Xia Qiu's 188. Moreover, due to standing issues, Jiang Chen had to stand on tiptoe to stop Xia Qiu. "Let go." Jiang Chen also wanted to explain that after seeing Xia Qiu's gaze, he still smiled and let go, and soon saw the other party picking up the golf club. "What weapon are you using?" "All right, Class 18 has some weapons, it would be even better if they had a gun." Although I don't know why Jiang Chen asked this question, he still answered truthfully. Since he has decided to follow the other party, he must show his attitude. "Let's forget about the gun. That thing is too loud. What cold weapon do you like?" Xia Qiu nodded, thinking that it was indeed so. "Long spear or dagger, it's the most convenient to use." Jiang Chen nodded and quickly threw the dagger from his waist. "Let's make do with it first." As soon as he was about to walk downstairs, Xia Qiu looked at the dagger in her hand and then at Jiang Chen's gradually disappearing figure, with a smile on her lips. "Jiang Chen, he's really a mysterious guy." "Lao Xia, hurry up, what are you grinding and chirping about? Upon hearing this, Xia Qiu's slightly curled lips instantly turned cold, but he didn't respond. Nevertheless, he quickly walked downstairs. Soon he arrived at the 7th floor, and when Xia Qiu came down, he saw a scene that made his pupils shrink. I saw some things that were originally used to block zombies floating up one by one, while some heavy ones were lifted by Jiang Chen with one hand and thrown into the house opposite Xia Qiu. In no time, the corridor was cleared out, possibly due to the noise that attracted 2 zombies. Jiang Chen just smiled slightly, then took a step with his knife and stepped out 2 zombies, and their heads fell to the ground. The movements were clean and neat, which made Xia Qiu, who had witnessed everything, look at Jiang Chen with a strange color in his eyes. Jiang Chen naturally noticed, "Why, are you afraid?" Xia Qiu shook her head and said, "It's just a bit difficult to adapt for a while, but what else can't accept these monsters coming out? Do you also want to have this ability?" Listening to Jiang Chen's words, Xia Qiu's eyes lit up and her tone was rarely awkward. "Is that okay?" Jiang Chen nodded naturally, but he still explained. "This is also the last opportunity for us humans. Everyone has a 1 in 10,000 chance of awakening their abilities, and the awakened abilities are also different. It all depends on your abilities to awaken anything." After speaking, Jiang Chen directly took out the crystal nucleus that had been put into the small bag before and threw it over. Xia Qiu firmly caught it. "Eat it and guide all your abilities to your head." Xia Qiu's eyes froze and he was about to eat the crystal nucleus directly. Almost as soon as Jiang Chen finished speaking, he made a choice. Truly worthy of being the future king of shadows. Jiang Chen knew that the other party's abilities must have awakened, but the other party still doesn't know. Some psychics may never know they have awakened their abilities in their lifetime, and thinking of this, Jiang Chen couldn't help but think of the skill of the Eye of Exploration. It's a pity that it's hard to come by. Looking at Xia Qiu with his knees crossed and his eyes closed, he wasn't idle either. He directly broke open the heads of these zombies one by one, totaling 14 zombies, and only discovered 2 crystal nuclei. However, he was already very satisfied with this probability. As soon as he put it away, he saw Xia Qiu slowly opening his eyes. "How's it going?" Jiang Chen looked excitedly at Xia Qiu, hoping that the other person could reveal a shocking ability. Chapter 9. Heart-to-Heart Communication. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, Xia Qiu shook her head in Jiang Chen's expectant gaze and said, "Sorry." Xia Qiu's voice was filled with guilt, although he didn't know what he was eating, the force just now was undoubtedly immense. Now he has a clear mind and even feels that his strength has been improved. And how could he not feel guilty that the other party, who had only seen him once, was willing to give him such a good thing, yet he had not awakened his superpower? Jiang Chen frowned tightly, wondering how the Shadow King of his past life could not awaken his powers. After some contemplation, Jiang Chen finally came to the conclusion that Xia Qiu should have awakened her powers, but she didn't know what her powers were. "It's okay, it's not necessarily that you haven't awakened, it's just that you don't know it yet." Under the guidance of Jiang Chen, Xia Qiu conducted various experiments, but unfortunately there was no response at all. "It's okay, actually there's still a way to become a strong person even if you can't become a superpower." Xia Qiu's originally dim gaze suddenly cooled upon hearing this, as it was impossible for her to awaken without any feeling. How to do it? Jiang Chen took out another crystal nucleus and handed it to Xia Qiu, "Eat it." But this summer and autumn did not pick him up, he looked at Jiang Chen in a complicated way. "Do you still have a lot left?" "No, with this one added, I still have one more." Seeing Xia Qiu's expression still somewhat conflicted, Jiang Chen smiled and scolded, "What are you fussing about? I'm your boss, taking care of my younger brother. What's wrong? You're not saving your sister anymore." After thinking for a moment, Xia Qiu nodded briefly and took Jinghe seriously, saying, I owe you 2 lives. Only those who have eaten this thing know its magic. The other party even gave him 2 of these precious things when he only had 3. Jiang Chen suppressed a smile and pretended not to care, waving his hand. Eat it, this time guide the energy into your body. The powers that should appear will eventually appear. As long as Xia Qiu is completely devoted, not to mention 2 crystal nuclei, 20 are worth it. Xia Qiu nodded and swallowed it, and soon he got up and stood up. The sound of crackling echoed incessantly, and Jiang Chen nodded in satisfaction as he watched the excited Xia Qiu. Try it out. Jiang Chen looked at Xia Qiu, who was eager to try, and asked, suddenly, a person's power will increase, so much power will inevitably cause some discomfort. The other party doesn't want to be like him, only through combat can they adapt quickly. After some thought, Xia Qiu shook her head and said, no need. Immediately, there was no more text, and Jiang Chen knew that the other person's temperament was just like that. Can you complete a task now? Suddenly, Jiang Chen looked at Xia Qiu seriously. Xia Qiu's face showed confusion but she still nodded. You are the boss, and you are the final say. Go and clean up all the zombies downstairs, and also open their heads to see if they have the crystal nucleus I just gave you. Crystal nucleus. That's the one I ate. Okay. Xia Qiu walked downstairs without any hesitation, and a different light flashed in Jiang Chen's eyes. He immediately sat down and ate the last crystal nucleus, and in an instant, a wave of energy appeared at the dantian. He guided this ability towards his head, and he had a premonition that after a few energy washes, he should be able to break through the first-order supernatural ability. After guiding Jiang Chen, he leaned aside and rested quietly. After about an hour, Xia Qiu returned. Without much words, Xia Qiu walked up to Jiang Chen and handed him the things in his hand. 5 crystal nuclei lay in the palm of Xia Qiu's hand like 5 exquisite jade pieces, and Jiang Chen's eyes flashed with a hint of joy. He reached out and took 2 of them, waving his hand at Xia Qiu. These 2 are just for you to return them to me. Xia Qiu's eyes flickered as she placed all the remaining crystal nuclei on the ground in front of Jiang Chen. You are the boss, so naturally you will distribute them. Don't forget the rest. The 2 of them looked at each other without flinching, and it took Jiang Chen a long time to burst into laughter. Old Xia, I didn't see you wrong. Come with me, go save our sister tomorrow. Originally, Xia Qiu didn't have much to say before, but his eyes froze when he heard the next sentence. That's my sister. Jiang Chen was taken aback for a moment and then seemed to think of something, nodding repeatedly. Your sister, it's your sister. In his past life, although Jiang Chen did not know what Xia Qiu's superpowers were, he still knew some about gossip about Xia Qiu. After all, there were not many entertainment things at that time, and the gossip of the strong naturally became one of the few pleasures. One of them is about Xia Qiu. I heard that he seems to be an absolute fan of his sister, and he cares about her very much. After this memory flashed through his mind, he hugged Xia Qiu and walked towards the house. Pack up and come with me. The boss will take you to see the big baby. Xia Qiu looked at Jiang Chen, who was playful and smiling at the moment, but he still had the mature and mysterious appearance he had before. However, since he had already made up his mind, he would not change it. Listening to Jiang Chen's words, Xia Qiu nodded and immediately entered the bedroom to start tidying up. Soon, the other person came out carrying a small bag. Let's go. Jiang Chen glanced at the time but didn't stay too long. As for the food inside, he didn't lack it at all now. With their skills, they easily shuttled between the 2-unit buildings and soon arrived at the place where Jiang Chen lives. As soon as I entered the house and looked at the food all over, Xia Qiu was surprised. Not only was the food, but also a few sets of combat uniforms. He looked at what Jiang Chen wanted to say but didn't speak, and Jiang Chen naturally noticed. Now is not the time to explain, I will tell you everything when there is a chance in the future. He didn't explain too much, even if he did, how many people would believe him? Xia Qiu nodded without asking too much, who hasn't ordered a secret yet? What do you plan to do next? Jiang Chen took off his combat uniform and casually changed into casual clothes, sitting down on the sofa with the 5 crystal cores in his hand. Enhance your strength and survive in this post-apocalyptic world, but before that, save your sister first. With my current strength, I can go on my own. Jiang Chen knew that the other party didn't want him to take the risk, but he still shook his head. Do you think there are only zombies outside now? Xia Qiu didn't speak, just looked at Jiang Chen. He knew that what the other person would say next might overturn his values. There are not only zombies but also various monsters outside, such as ghost warriors, crawlers, kaisher, tyrants, and so on. With our current strength, even if there are 100 people who encounter these things, there is no possibility of survival. And don't think that zombies are just trash, as over time and in some special circumstances, zombies will become increasingly difficult to deal with. Not to mention mutated animals and plants, all of which are extremely dangerous. The most crucial and dangerous thing is the human heart, and I apologize for the previous probing. Xia Qiu listened to Jiang Chen's confession and nodded heavily without saying anything more. Jiang Chen didn't disturb the other party either. Anyone who hears these words will be greatly shocked, but only those who can adapt quickly and have a firm determination can become strong. Obviously, Xia Qiu is such a person. Chapter 10. Hunting Moments. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After a long silence, Xia Qiu opened her eyes again. Jiang Chen, you knew what the other person was thinking when you saw their gaze. Take it, let's improve first. 3 crystal nuclei were thrown over like this, but Xia Qiu saw them and threw another one over. Jiang Chen smiled and threw it back. I'm the boss who listens to me. Don't let my weak strength hold me back. Upon hearing this, Xia and Qiu didn't say anything more, and soon the two of them each found a place to start refining. Grinding a knife does not hinder the chopping of firewood, and physical strengthening is essential. A truly strong person will never let themselves have too many flaws, and both of Jiang Chen's coins have chosen to strengthen their body. Both of them have completed their own refining. Watch it, let me teach you something. Next, under Xia Qiu's surprised gaze, Jiang Chen made 12 incredible movements. Got it. Xia Qiu nodded and immediately started working on it. However, Jiang Chen quickly realized something was wrong, and from Xia Qiu's first few movements, it seemed that the other party was not the first time. Have you learned it? I have done the first 5 movements before, but I haven't seen the last 7. Jiang Chen looked at Xia Qiu in shock. This move only appeared a year after the end of the world. Did it have a prototype before the end of the world? Okay, you can do it first and see how many times you can do it. Once, twice. 5 times, until the 7th time, Xia Qiu collapsed to the ground. The big shot is truly a big shot, he only strengthened 3 times and can actually achieve the 7th time. Although Jiang Chen was shocked, he didn't say anything, and soon he also began to sit up. He couldn't hold on until he finished the 8th time, but he showed a satisfied smile. Looking at Xia Qiu with a slightly proud expression, Xia Qiu just looked indifferent and didn't speak. Jiang Che glanced at his watch and it was already past 7 o'clock. The high-intensity exercise made him feel incredibly tired. I'm hungry. He muttered without any response, and after a while, Xia Qiu struggled to get up and walked towards the kitchen. Soon, he remembered the sound of cooking. After Jiang Chen gained strength, he went to take a shower and found that Xia Qiu was already waiting for him when he left. What are you waiting for me to do? Eat. After a gust of wind swept through the remnants of the clouds, both of them showed satisfied smiles. While Jiang Chen was still digesting and savoring, Xia Qiu's voice suddenly sounded. Do you have any extra clothes? Jiang Chen opened his eyes and looked at Xia Qiu, only then did he see that the other person's clothes were still soaked. You have a good figure. Now you can clearly see the muscle lines of Xia Qiu's 8-pack abdominal muscles. Even if Jiang Chen looks at them, he can only say they are perfect. But there is still a gap between us, readers and adults. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Xia Qiu's gaze and Jiang Chen stared back. There are a few things inside that haven't been worn yet. Xia Qiu left with a dark face, while Jiang Chen pondered on his plans for tomorrow. Although the current zombies are not strong, they are afraid of having too many. With the addition of Xia Qiu, even if there are 30.4 zombies, it is not a problem. If Xia Yusen is added to the team again, then their team will be considered to have taken shape. The two of them, with their super strong combat power and a strong support, can survive safely even in the late apocalypse. Originally, Jiang Chen did not plan to form a team so quickly, but the appearance of Xia Qiu had to force him to change his plan. Without him, relying solely on the opponent's strength and character is worth a gamble. If it were not Xia Qiu but someone else that Jiang Chen encountered there, he would definitely not be so polite. Just as he was pondering, Xia Qiu finished washing and came out. As soon as he sat down, Jiang Chen spoke up. Where is your sister? Shanghai University of Science and Technology. Shanghai University of Science and Technology. This had to surprise him. Jiang Chen was a senior student at this school, how could it be said that Xia Yusen was still his younger sister? The world is really small. Jiang Chen couldn't help but sigh, who could have imagined that he had such a fate with the two founders of the famous Shadow Team in the future. But soon a solemn expression appeared on his face. After all, Shanghai University of Science and Technology was not close to them. How did you plan? Do you have a plan? Jiang Chen asked Xia Qiu, because even without his intervention, the other party would have gone to save his sister and succeeded. Actually, these past few days while exercising, I have noticed that my strength has improved. I originally planned to start in 2 days when my strength improved further. Are you just so confident about your sister? Listening to Xia Qiu's words, Jiang Chen couldn't help but feel a little surprised. The other party's tone was so calm and not at all anxious. Xia Qiu just glanced at Jiang Chen and continued, my sister's strength is not bad either. If the zombie is just this kind of strength, she has the ability to protect herself. However, if you follow what you said, it's better to set off as soon as possible. Jiang Chen nodded and said, it's over 70 kilometers from here to school. The car definitely won't be able to travel on foot, so it will take at least 3 or 4 days. If anything unexpected happens, it may be even later. I understand, but I have to go anyway. Xia Qiu naturally understood the difficulty of things, but he was willing to take this risk for his only sister. Since that's the case, let's arrange it, but I hope you can listen to my arrangements along the way. After Xia Qiu nodded, he took the other person to a room where the landlord was preparing to rent an available room to others, but it had already been occupied by Jiang Chen. You should also be able to wear the combat suit I'm wearing. If there are more weapons, you can take them and familiarize yourself with them. We'll set off early tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. Xia Qiu said in a deep voice, and Jiang Chen just patted the other person's shoulder before coming out. Previously, he bought a total of 2 Tang horizontal knives, 8 daggers, and 2 sets of combat uniforms. He thought he could keep them as a backup, but now they come in handy. In the blink of an eye, the next day arrived. Summer mornings always come so quickly, and the sun had already risen just after 5 o'clock. Jiang Chen and Xia Qiu, fully armed, stood on the Tiantai mountain in 2 buildings, watching the zombies wandering below, with no visible waves in their eyes. Do you want to kill more than anyone else? Bored. Ignoring Jiang Chen's suggestion, Xia Qiu said a word and left, which was their decision yesterday. Before leaving, they took advantage of the lack of zombies in this community to enhance their strength. Glancing at the disappearing Xia Qiu, Jiang Chen smiled slightly and went downstairs. Quickly, the two of them rushed out from their respective downstairs buildings. For a moment, they were like tigers entering a flock of sheep, and with each move, one zombie after another fell. Such a scene shocked some survivors, and soon someone reacted. "Hey, hey, we're here, help us." A shout suddenly sounded, as if afraid that the two would not hear the person, and even took out a loudspeaker.